Hello everybody, welcome back to the Bison Workshop. I'm Bob, and we're having our Trump coffee, and we just got the meal cleaned up and ready to show. This will be the last video on this project. I believe I've got it perfect just the way it is. So while you guys grab your Trump coffee this morning, do just like that and world's all right again. Anyway, we'll put you down here and we'll show you what we got. Alright guys, this is where the first one that I made, and I put holes in there to put screws in it, and I didn't realize how big these were, and I drilled it and went out the side here a little bit. So I thought, well, we need to revise that. So we went and made a new one. And I had this one up here this far, and I forgot to cut this top half off, so I had to mill this off. And it milled off just fine. And this one still works just fine. It's just a weakness right there where them screws are bulging out right there, the edge of them. So it's not really, I don't have them that tight. But I went ahead and changed it and made another one. And I made a knurled handle for it and a lock. Now behind this thumb screw is a ball bearing. And I made that thumb screw to go on it, and that was just cut off from the handle. And yes, I could use either one of them, because this one worked just fine. I've already got them threaded. So, in behind this bottom one, where it goes up against that bar, there's a ball bearing in there. And I'm not using this like a ball detent. I'm going to use it like a lock, because I'm either going to have it in or I'm going to have it off. This is going to give me my choices. So if I've got it over here, then I can tighten it down. It ain't going to move, because remember, I had a problem with this backing off. So now when this, I'll get you a close-up here. Well, let me finish telling you about the rest of it. We got the shaft that goes into a socket. And it's got a square shaft. It's 3/8, takes a 3/8 socket with a little bit of relief so that it slides easily. And it wouldn't hurt to round these corners off just a little bit more. But mine's wearing in already, so I think it's going to be fine. So now it's starting to get pretty simple to do. So you unlock it, take it out, and you lock it. Slide it, lock it. Now eventually that ball bearing is going to press into that aluminum, and it's going to cause a ball detent eventually. So it's a good possibility that later on I could actually add more to this print and bring that out a little bit deeper, so you could put a set screw and a spring in there. Right now there's not really a whole lot of room for threads for this, so the ball takes up about 1/3 of the hole. So then I used a windshield wiper, or a window crank motor out of a Ford F-150 Ford pickup, and it's the original one that was in it, my truck, when I replaced mine, and I mounted it to it. So what I had to do was make a new piece for it to go in there that would accept this sleeve with the same size basically it looked like this exactly, except it had a shaft on it about that long, the size for this. So I put that in there and put it all back together. Beautifully running machine. So now we'll put our handle back in here. This is just a handle, just so you can, it's more for show than anything, because I'd rather grab it up here and slide it back and forth, because you're kind of in the center of this and this. So you're pushing both of them at the same time. Over here, you have room to rock, but we'll try it both ways. So we got our limit switches back here and mounted. I showed in the last video. And now we'll give you a little close-up of it. On the top, I have put bison, and then I've got an arrow pointing that way, and above it, it says on, and an arrow pointing that way, and the arrow says off. So I'm going to paint them in there, and probably use the same color as the mill, which is somewhere here. Don't pay attention to my mess. It'll be that color. So I took the motor apart. I painted this green. I painted the plate green. I polished this up best I wanted. And then I painted the housing for the motor. And I'm going to tell you, these motors are a devil to get back together because of the magnetism of it. You can't hardly get that armature back in there without it jerking your hand or whatever you're holding the brushes apart so you can get it on there. It jerks it and knocks you out. Then you have to start all over again. I had the devil of a time with that. But anyway, we got it back together and it works great. I got my wires draped here temporarily. I'm working on a chain for it. My 3D printer sucks because it brings them out looking terrible. Look, some of them still stuck together. The stringy stuff. I got to clean each and every one of those, and this is how far I've gotten in the 2 days. Because I get tired of doing it. Because I know I shouldn't have to. Damn 3D printer. Anyway, so then we've got what controls the unit, which is up here. And then we've got what controls that right here. This is our safety switch. So right there is on. You can feel the fan. Then we come over here. And eventually I may have all this stuff in one unit. I don't know if I'm going to make some kind of a special panel for it. I don't know. This is all temporary stuff, I'm sure. It's starting to look cluttered and too far apart. I kind of like to have everything all in one place. So we're going to turn the lead on. So now that motor will have power as soon as I push this. And we are locked in. It's nice and quiet. This thing is riding up against this bearing. This bearing is spinning. It's not hitting the plastic, although it looks like it's pretty close. If I 3D print another one, I'll have to do some relief right there. But it's hitting this one right here. Now if I back it up, it's actually still hitting that one. Actually, no, it should be hitting the other one. This one over here should be turning. And it's not. Let's see here. And that's all the way up. That's as fast as I'll ever need that thing to go. Hell, I'll probably never run it that fast. And now we're at the end. So now we just reach up here, click that off, and go the opposite direction. But let's check something here. Let's do something here. I want to check and see how much travel I actually have. So what we'll do is we'll set our x-axis, which is moving right now and has just stopped. So we're going to 0 that back to 0. So now let's go the opposite direction all the way as far as we can. And she's moving up, 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 and away. And the motor is not getting hot. I feel a little warmth right here at the worm gear. But I'm not going to be running it like this. Anything I do is probably going to be not much wider than the, unless I'm doing a gun stock or something. If I'm wallering out a pocket for a gun stock, then yeah. So we're up there at, let's change that to inches. We're at 8 inches right now. Nine inches. $11 inches. 12 inches. That would be 12, and I can't even see that. Let me get my magnifying glass here. That would be a 12 1/16 travel. You've seen it firsthand. Now, I bet you this thing only had that originally. It might have 11 something, but you look at the specs on this, I bet it didn't have much. So anyway, we're going to go back to center. But I got to do some wire policing here, get that where it's going to relax in that orientation, so it kind of goes this way. I want to try to do a chain on this, but I'm not sure how I want to do it. I'm also thinking the fact that this would probably be easier for me to just clean that up and put some of that wire loom around it like this down there, because I don't want to. I got stuff I can coat it with, but it's that stuff that really let's see here. This is my wires and cover stuff. I got plenty of this stuff that's long enough to do it, but this stuff, you would have wire chips and stuff like that in it, stuck in it, and you'd never get them out. You'd have to hand pick that stuff out of there. I ain't prepared to do that the rest of my life, so I ain't going to use that. I've got this big old piece, man, but that thing's too stiff. And then I've got little scraps that ain't long enough to do anything for that. I need to get me some more of this stuff, just bigger than that. But I think that would be best, just to have it like these are over here. I just got to get some more of that stuff. And see, I've got plenty of travel there, and I just don't know about that chain. If I put that chain in there, it would have to go in here and mount right here, somewhere probably right there in the center of that thing right there, the reader, and have it come across here. It has to come back and do a curl somewhere here, so that when you go back that other way, it comes this way. However far you need to go, all the way to the end of the table. So you gotta calculate your chain, and I don't know if it's worth all that trouble. Plus all the shavings will be getting down in it, and then it would start binding it up, and then it creates another maintenance for me. So I decided that I'm just gonna tape them up for now, and tape them while I'm holding it in that position, so that it'll spring in this direction. Because right now, if I go the other direction, this here will go in that direction in a curled motion. We just did it. So now if I don't want to run this in manual or automatic, I can just take it and turn it over, and guess what? See? When I backed it off the stepper switch, it started going again. But now I can still use it. Just like I normally do. And you see the wire, it's actually going like it should. Try to keep it clean over here, so you know it's not that big a deal for me to clean around them that often. I want to cover all that because those could be potentially a short. If a piece of this stringy stuff went down in there and shorted them, got stuck in there, and then another one hit it, another one, then it would have shorted it out. So I got to get that covered with some kind of a rubber boot or something. So that is the setup on the Bison's g0758. You see that right there? Right there. Grizzly. And we'll turn our emergency switch off so that fan's not running up your electricity. Lord knows I use enough electricity. So there you have the setup for my meal. And you can modify this plate. This here has actually 2 bolt patterns in it now. It's got a bolt pattern for this motor, and if I do decide to use the other motor that's with that I'm getting, see, I didn't decide to make this piece until after I decided to get the motor. So I ended up with a motor coming that I ended up making this work anyway, because I wanted to see if I could do it, and obviously I did. And for no more than I'm running this will last forever. And you can, if I did decide to use the other motor, I could drill that for that motor. So it would have different options so it'd be basically a drill plate for mounting different motors on it. So anyway, this year's also adjustable too, to compensate for all the rest of this stuff. So this has got shims in behind it, and the holes in here are wallered at twice the size that it needs to be, so that you have your flexibility. So when you go to hit the on button, you snug these up, and then you hit your on button, and you just hold that, and then you just move it around to where everything seems to be as free as you can get it. And then you tighten those bolts down, and you've got it adjusted. So it's a press fit type deal, squeeze fit. So I like it that way, and for no more than this thing is going to have, I mean, if I can turn it like this with no effort, that motor it's not really putting that much on that motor. So, unless I just don't know my own strength. So, now we've finally completed another task on the mill. I just now realized there may be an issue here. I may have to mill the top of that off. Take that screw there out, because it really only needs the 3 screws holding that plate on anyway. Because it's going above my table. So we may have to use another motor, because there's no way to avoid having to cut that whole thing off and only use 2 bolts. And for as rigid as that thing is, I don't think it would vibrate. And even if it did, I could put a rubber pad in between it, the thickness of that will butt up against this to keep it from vibrating, and just mill that whole top off. And that'll get it down below it, because that's really only holding that. This thing has 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts holding it. I'm pretty sure that thing's not going to be that bad if I'd milled that off. So, if it presents a problem, that's what's going to happen. So, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed what I've shown, what I've created. Now, I didn't create this. I was not the first creator of this. Don't get me wrong. As far as I know, this came from the Tin Barn. I watch him faithfully, and I liked his idea. I just did a few other modifications to mine than he did, and I mean, it's the same thing, except I put mine out the front, and he had his up top. And mine had to come out the front because I didn't want to lose any of my height. Because if I want to put a long gun stock on this and clamp it down, see, now I have that as an obstacle. So, just depends on how I got to put it in there. But that could be as simple as just block it up to that height and clamp the work down. But, however, that's the mill power x-axis. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. You guys have a good one. Later.